Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher. He's a Republican on the Intelligence Committee and Armed Services Committee and, of course, chair of the House China Committee. I want to ask you about this because Senate Democrats apparently are suggesting that there be conditions placed on the Israeli military if they're to get aid. Here's a quote from Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii saying, "We just want to be assured that they are abiding by American values as they try to dismantle Hamas, and we all conveyed that collectively and clearly. I do believe they heard us, but obviously we have a long way to go." What's going on here?
Well, it makes no sense because they're already abiding by international law, going above and beyond, in fact, to abide by international law. So I think this is posturing because what's happening not only to Democratic senators, but to the Biden administration is they're feeling pressure from the progressive left. That's why you're seeing this effort to take the temporary ceasefire and extend it. I fear that only redounds to Hamas's advantage because when folks talk about a ceasefire, they are effectively asking our partner Israel to surrender to an Iranian-backed terrorist group. A ceasefire would leave Hamas intact and make it inevitable that Hamas, which I will again emphasize is a terrorist organization with American blood and hostages on its hands, would conduct more mass killings, as it has vowed to do, and placing restrictions on Israel's use of military force will only embolden Hamas and other Iranian-backed terrorist groups in the region, thereby inviting further aggression and prolonging the conflict in Gaza and ultimately undermining the deterrent capability of the West.
We just had a terrific law professor on about 20 minutes ago from George Mason Law, and he said you have to go into the group of Hamas like you went into the Nazis at the end of World War II in Germany. That's going to take some time, Congressman. And you start to play this out in your mind and you think, you know, can Israel do what it has stated it will do, which is eliminate Hamas?
If Israel has the full backing of the United States of America, and we do not waver in our support of Israel in its mission to destroy Hamas, it can do it. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be casualties on both sides. We're dealing with a genocidal death cult in Hamas, but it must be destroyed. The path towards ending the conflict has been clear from day one: the release of all hostages and Hamas's surrender. There are things we can do to help this beyond military support and rhetorical support to Israel. I think it's time to reevaluate our approach to Qatar, for example. Qatar has helped Hamas use the hostages, and we're talking about toddlers, mothers, and grandparents in many cases, as leverage. Qatar says they want a ceasefire, but it has been the main player ensuring that this conflict drags on because it's trying to find a way for Hamas to survive. And of course, Biden gave Qatar a major non-NATO ally status. So it's time for us to exert our influence and pressure in support of Israel to make sure that Israel isn't increasingly isolated internationally and in various international fora.
We have just one more minute. I wanted to ask about this. There's a New York Times story that caught my eye, and I thought you'd be probably already up to speed on it. The title is "Inside U.S. Efforts to Untangle an AI Giant's Ties to China," saying that American spy agencies have warned about the Emirati firm G42 and its work with large Chinese companies that U.S. officials consider security threats. I don't know if you know about that specific company, but it does feel like the world of AI is way out ahead of where Washington is in trying to get control, or at least some measure of control on it.
I saw the story. It's very troubling. I think it's obvious to say that OpenAI is viewed by the Chinese as a extremely valuable national security asset of America. And just as we would never allow a Chinese firm to invest in OpenAI, China is now using their next best option to invest via G42, whose CEO has a background that warrants deep scrutiny. And so this is something we need to scrutinize. And again, it connects to our earlier topic because, of course, the UAE is an important partner of the United States of America, and we have to be using our influence in order to ensure that they don't develop closer ties with China and ultimately allow China to dominate this technology with profound national security implications.
You've been on it from the beginning. Thank you, sir, for coming on today. Mike Gallagher, the Republican of Wisconsin.